Have you ever wondered about the most terrifying places on Earth? Today, we're diving into 5 forbidden buildings that hide truly disturbing secrets. Stick around until the end to discover the most shocking of them all. Koon Wald City, Hong Kong. In the heart of Hong Kong's density, Koon Wald City stood as an emblem of chaos and neglect. Originally a Chinese military fort, this complex rapidly became a real-life dystopia, housing around 35,000 people in decrepit buildings without regulations. The conditions were nightmarish, filled with dark curiosities. The most unsettling aspect was how this place, abandoned by authorities, grew uncontrollably into the 1980s. Its narrow, unlit hallways seemed like an urban nightmare, where safety was non-existent and structural decay was evident. Stories surrounding this place reflect the lack of humanity during those days. Koon Wald City was not only physically dangerous, but psychologically suffocating. Families lived in such dire conditions that desperation and fear became part of their daily lives. But how did this chaos persist without intervention? It's something many still wonder. Curiosities about life in this place abound. The city was eventually demolished in 1994, leaving behind tales of survival amidst urban anarchy. Few places have so well captured what hell on earth can be, where humans lived on the brink of collapse. What hidden stories from this city were never told? Despite its demolition, the psychological and social impact of Koon Wald City remains in collective memory. Yet, as some memories fade, new horrors, like the CIA's dark methods at the salt pit in Afghanistan, emerge from the shadows. Salt pit, Afghanistan. Hidden among the darkest secrets of the CIA, the salt pit in Afghanistan was one of the most feared detention centers. Operating in complete secrecy, this place was the scene of unimaginable practices where physical and psychological abuse was part of the method. Curiosities about its existence kept the world on edge for years. Conditions at the salt pit were brutal. Prisoners lived in constant terror, subjected to torture so extreme that its effects lasted long after release. The CIA kept this place in the shadows, as if hiding something far more sinister. What was really going on behind those walls? Among the methods used, some accounts mention sleep deprivation, confinement in small cells, and simulated death. These accounts send shivers down the spine, making us question the extent of power in the name of security. Most often, those who entered the salt pit never left the same. Although this place was discovered, its secrets remain buried in classified reports. The lack of transparency only adds to the mystery surrounding what happened behind those walls. It's hard to imagine the suffering of those who fell victim to these practices. Yet, other equally dark places await discovery. The salt pit is just one example of how horror can be institutionalized. However, there are places where brutality comes not from a government but from more extreme circumstances, such as the Black Hole of Calcutta. Black Hole of Calcutta, India. On the sweltering night of 1756, 146 British prisoners were confined in a tiny cell at Fort William, Calcutta, known as the Black Hole. This small, unventilated space became a death trap, where the scorching heat and lack of air led to most prisoners' deaths. Curiosities about this tragic event have resonated throughout history. The overcrowding was so severe that people desperately struggled to breathe. Only 23 survivors emerged, with those who didn't perish in agony. This incident became a symbol of the Mughal Empire's brutality towards the British, leaving a lasting mark on collective memory. What other atrocities remain forgotten? This event triggered a fierce response from the British Empire, who vowed revenge. The unchecked brutality experienced at the Black Hole was a raw representation of war and its horrors. It's hard to imagine the desperation and panic those prisoners must have felt in their final moments. The Black Hole of Calcutta became a grim reminder of what humanity can inflict in the name of power. Survivor accounts paint a terrifying picture of how easily human life can be discarded. Yet this would not be the last time brutality was used as a tool of control. Throughout the centuries, many other places like this have witnessed unimaginable suffering, such as the infamous Elmina Castle in Ghana, where horror mixed with history. Elmina Castle, Ghana. Elmina Castle, built in 1482, is an imposing piece of African history, but its architectural grandeur hides a dark reality. For centuries, this castle served as one of the main centers of the slave trade, where thousands of people were detained in inhumane conditions before being sent to the New World. Curiosities about this place seem as cruel as they are fascinating. Within its walls, slaves endured unsustainable conditions. Narrow, unventilated cells and constant physical and emotional abuse made Elmina Castle a hell on earth. For many, this place represented the loss of all hope. How could people endure such suffering for so long? The slave trade at Elmina not only marked a dark chapter in Africa's history, but also in world history. Accounts from those who passed through this place reveal a cruelty that's difficult to fully comprehend. Yet as time passed and the slave trade ended, the scars of this place remain visible to those who dare to explore them. Today, Elmina Castle is a historic site, but its legacy is filled with horror and pain. The walls of this building seem to whisper the stories of those who never made it out alive. It's hard not to feel the weight of centuries of suffering while walking through its corridors. Yet, while some buildings remind us of past atrocities, others, like Reactor 4 at Chernobyl, warn us of ongoing dangers in our modern age. Reactor 4 at Chernobyl, Ukraine. In 1986, the world witnessed one of the most catastrophic nuclear disasters in history, the explosion of Reactor 4 at Chernobyl. This site remains one of the most dangerous places on Earth, with deadly radiation levels persisting to this day. What many don't know are the curiosities surrounding the Elephant's Foot, a massive corium that continues to emit unimaginable levels of radiation. The initial explosion devastated the area and released a colossal amount of radioactive material into the atmosphere. Despite efforts to contain the radiation, cleanup attempts were fraught with problems. The people who worked at the site, known as liquidators, faced dangerous levels of exposure. What other effects are still hidden from this disaster decades later? The Elephant's Foot, one of the most feared formations within the reactor, is a mass of molten material that remains incredibly lethal. No one can be near this mass for more than a few minutes without suffering fatal consequences. This place is more than a reminder of the past. It's a warning about the dangers of uncontrolled technology. Although Chernobyl has been sealed with a massive sarcophagus to contain radiation, the area remains a threat. The effects of radiation on the environment and people who lived in surrounding areas are still felt, reminding the world that the aftermath of the disaster is far from over. Yet, while Chernobyl is a monument to the dangers of nuclear energy, many other places on Earth still hide terrifying secrets, waiting to be uncovered. Now you know the darkest secrets behind these forbidden buildings. Impressive, isn't it? If you enjoyed this video and want to discover more incredible curiosities, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and give a like to support the content. And if you're curious to learn even more, check out the video appearing on the screen now about the 5 frightening alien encounters that the Men in Black don't want you to know. I guarantee it will surprise you.